I am John Mario Sevilla, and I'm pleased to introduce you to this town hall as a member of Dance NYC's advisory board and the director of the 92nd Street Y. Harkness Dance Center. Thank you for coming. We are pleased to continue a partnership with the American Dance Abroad to connect the New York City dance community to its work to export American dance. Our latest State of Dance NYC research, released in October, offers mixed findings for touring. Over a 6-year period studied, income from touring decreased in the aggregate for all groups with budgets of $1 million or more. This source increased for groups with budgets of less than $1 million and for groups with budgets of less than $100,000 in particular. We need to maintain vigilance in expanding opportunities for artists and companies of all sizes. You can find the research and learn more about our programs, research, convening, like tonight, promotion, and regranting on the Dance NYC website, dance.nyc.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Alejandra Lucas and I am the programs manager for Dance NYC. I'm just going to go over a few logistical things so you know what to expect for the night. So first and foremost, you're being photographed. We are recording the event for archival purposes. If you'd like to see it in the future, it will be made available. Second, please help us extend the conversation on Twitter by using the handle @DanceNYC and the hashtags townhall and ADR. Third, if you would like more information on tonight's panelists, which is a very impressive group of people, you can look on our website at dance.nyc/ADR bios, and that will be available during and after the event as well. This evening will consist of a conversation with the panelists, followed by a question and answer session. You've received some cards on your chair where you can write in your questions, and we will be collecting them for that moment of the night, led by our moderators. Please also help us improve our events by taking a few minutes to fill out the survey that you received when you came in. We will have baskets at the end to collect them. And that is about it. Without further ado, I would like to welcome Andrea Snyder.
I am live, and now I'm live. I'm even more live. I'm liver. That's not really. Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Andrea Snyder. I'm co-director of American Dance Abroad. Let me just show you, give you the layout. We'll introduce our colleagues here briefly, and then talk you a little bit, give you a little background about American Dance Recon, the program that they are now involved here in New York with us and exploring New York. And then Carolyn, my colleague, who will introduce herself, will field some questions to these folks. They haven't heard the questions. This is like one of those game shows. They haven't heard the questions. They don't know what we're going to ask them. So they're on their toes because they might be picked to answer a question. Not everybody's going to answer the same question, but as you are doing your own questions, if you have them, please move them over to the end of the aisle, and someone will pick them up and hand them over to Carolyn. So just to give you a fair warning, we need to leave here by 7, which is why we're digging right into this. So there won't be a lot of time to chit-chat at the end. Sorry about that in advance. And I guess without nothing else I need to say at the moment, I'm going to ask you all if you would introduce yourselves, your name, your organization, and very briefly where you're from, and very briefly a quick something about your dance programming.
Good afternoon. I'm Marcelo Zamora from São Paulo, Brazil. We organize a dance festival, and we have 2 moments: an international platform every year in April, and the local platform in November, in the end of November. In this moment, we are we make part of the La Red, is a group of promoters from South Latin America.
Good evening, my name is Ekaterina Bester. I am curator of International Contemporary Dance Festival Kroki, which means steps in English. And it is quite new event, but very ambitious. And I established it 5 years ago at a new venue in Krakow, in Poland, which is called Małopolski Artsgarten. And the next year will be the 5th edition. And the festival includes not only presentation, but also workshops for the professionals and not professionals, and screening, movie screening, and many other off-stage events and post-performance talking. And right now I'm preparing the programs for the next 3 years, so I'm here looking for some inspirations.
Hi, I'm Antonello Tedesco from Italy. We have a dance company based in Naples, and we have also 2 different theaters, one in the center of the town, one outside the town. And we do a residency program. We host artists from all around the world for making their project in our theater. And we also have a dance season. And the next fall we are going to rebuild dance festival that we had before, but then we stopped it for a while, for like 3 years, and then we are going to rebuild again. And we are really open to have an exchange program with artists from abroad.
My name is Martin. I come from Uruguay, which is in South America. And it's not Paraguay. I work for the Ministry of Culture there, and I'm in charge of the dance program for the International Performing Arts Festival, which happens every 2 years. That's the next edition is in 2017. And I'm also in charge of the National Dance Academy, so we also program artists that can work with young, emerging artists.
Hello, I'm Katja. I come from Slovenia. I'm Deputy Director and Programmer for the Contemporary Dance Theatre in Ljubljana. We exist for 30 years, so most of the choreographers went out of our venue. We have a small black box theatre. We produce, we co-produce, we exchange. We also have some small festival. It's in 2018, the next edition. So we do quite a lot of collaborations with the people from abroad also.
Hello, my name is Audronis Imbrasas. I am from Lithuania, Vilnius, which is not in South America. And I run organization Lithuanian Dance Information Center, which is kind of umbrella organization for dance in my small country. The major option for presenting foreign companies is International Contemporary Dance Festival New Baltic Dance, which takes place in May. We also once in 2 years try to bring major international dance companies to Lithuania. And I am related in many ways with other colleagues in my country, with other festivals or other organizations for dance, so many different forms and formats.
I'm Frank from Shanghai.
Hi, I'm Olivia. I'm Frank's assistant. He is an English non-speaker, so I will translate his words as much as possible. And okay. It's okay, I will translate. Frank Fu is the director of Downstage, which is the first Shanghai Contemporary Dance Festival. It will be held every 2 years. And Frank is also a senior performance presenter. Okay.
Hello, I'm Aseno from Bulgaria, which is not part of Russia. We are a member of European Union already 10 years. And for the first time, Bulgarian city will be European Capital of Culture 2019. Actually, this is the second biggest city, Plovdiv, where I am now. We are the biggest independent cultural platform in Bulgaria, and we organize different festivals, and one of them is for contemporary dance and performance. Next year will be our anniversary, our 10th edition.
Good evening, I'm Gerry. I'm from Melbourne, Australia. I work for Art Centre Melbourne, which is a large-scale venue. We have 5 venues, three of which we present theatre, dance, and other. Theatre and dance, and the others are more concert venues. Yeah.
Thank you. So I'm Carolyn. I'm the other co-director of American Dance Abroad. Thank you for being here tonight. Before we start to ask them questions so they know who they're talking to, by a show of hands, can I see who are choreographers and or artistic directors? Great. How many are managers or artist representatives? How many are other? And what are you? Or dancers? Anyone who's a dancer? Okay, so who are you?
I'm with Limon. I work in development.
Oh, that's management.
Also
Okay.
management.
All right. So I just wanted to give them a sense of who they're actually talking to. Andrea said that we've got to be out of here at 7, and she's correct. But depending how this goes, we may try to end like 6:45 so that you can, if you have specific one-on-one questions or you want to grab their business cards or something. If we are able, we will allow a little time for that. But we really mean it, that we have to be out of here by 7. Okay. I have some early questions that I got just because I know they're already writing, and I don't have that many, so please write. Okay. I'm trying to think who to address this to. Katja. And I'm going to have at least 2 people answer this, so the rest of you can think about it and maybe volunteer. What attracts you to American dance?
I actually want to explore more because this I never experienced a lot of contemporary dance or modern dance in America. So it's actually for me a new planet to research and find a solution how we can collaborate and find a fruitful exchange of knowledge in dance.
Can we pause for a second? Do you want to explain a little bit about what's happening, why they're here for this week, about ADR?
You didn't do that?
I didn't.
Ah, shoot. Okay, sorry about that.
Do you want me to do it?
No, but I thought that was you. Yes, we're going to go back. So, American Dance Abroad has a program called American Dance Recon. And recon has 2 meanings. It could be to reconnect, or it could be reconnaissance. One of the things that we've been keenly aware of over the years is that international programmers do not have a lot of opportunity to see American dance companies, US-based dance companies, for the obvious reason that travel's difficult, and we're so far away. One of the things that Andrea and I were first keenly aware of when we began American Dance Abroad was how out of date some of the information was that international programmers had. Depending on where they were coming from, sometimes it was as old as 20 or 30 years. There were many new artists they didn't know, and older artists they didn't know where. They thought what they were doing was also 30 years ago. So this program was created with the support of the Mertz Gilmore Foundation to invite international if we can't go there, we'll bring them here. This is basically the concept. We've done it now 5 times in New York and once in San Francisco. Usually we do it in groups of about 10. It's about what we can manage. And while they're here, the concept is that they will see a slice of New York City in 5 days. We don't curate it, that's for sure. We look at what's already existing, who's rehearsing, who's performing, who's available. And they see all kinds of creative work at various stages of development. We try to take them all over the city. We've been already last night to Brooklyn. We go to the Bronx. We're all over Manhattan. And the idea is that they will leave with an impression of New York City dance. You want to add anything, Andrea?
No, it's the opportunity for them to learn more about what's happening in this city. And if we can get to other cities, we would do the same. But New York is such, as we all know, has such a rich and deep family of dance. And we've now had 5 cohorts. So we've over 50 people, have 50 international colleagues, have come and experienced dance for a series of days. We don't require them to do anything other than to learn. But the outcome of that is that we have learned, we have heard that some are in negotiation and some have been invited to festivals actually more rapidly than we anticipated. So opening up the door to building relationships and to new ideas and new appreciation for American dance is the goal, and it is, as we found out, it's actually doing its work.
Thanks. Okay. Any quick questions about American Dance Recon? Okay. Let's go back to this question, though. You put Katja on the spot, but somebody else has had a chance to think about it. Is there anything that you can talk about that attracts you to American dance? Or why did you come?
I'll go. I tell the story again. In Uruguay, we have, I guess in all South America, we have a long tradition in dance connected to European dance, mainly because our teachers were educated in Europe. So, but then also there's this idea that United States, it's only Limon, Graham, and Cunningham. And that's the techniques that are being taught in the schools and in Uruguay. And then when it comes to contemporary dance, it's mostly European that is being taught. So my idea is to see what else is happening here and what other techniques or trends in research and what is being done for contemporary dance in the States.
Thank you. Sort of following up, that we have a question of how does American dance compare to dance in your countries? Antonello?
Really good question. Yeah, I can say, just to make a bridge what he said before. In Europe, I can talk from my country, from Italy, of course. I cannot talk from the other countries. We don't have so much knowledge about American dance because was only biggest company was coming in Italy for presenting a dance show, but most of them they was well known already, and they was doing a work that was related to whole choreographies. So we had no idea what is the new generation of dance. When I say new generation, I don't think only about the age, of course, of the choreographies, but I think also about what is coming on new. And so I'm really appreciated to be here because I have the opportunity to watch exactly what is coming on now in USA and how I can find the way to bring some of the artists in Italy because the way how we do dance in Italy is completely different from what it's doing here. And it's interesting if we can compare, no, in the way that the audience can see what can happen, what happened in another country, because we know better what happened in South America, We know what's happening in Korea, we know what's happening in Japan, we know what's happening all around Europe, but we don't have idea. I mean, I talk about the point of view of the audience, of course, not from my point of view. What happened in USA? So this is a really great opportunity for me to, first as an artist, to watch other my colleagues, and then also to try to understand how can be possible to make this kind of bridge, especially with the little companies, when the American companies now, they don't have so much opportunity to come over because the cost and everything we know now, that makes a big difference. For example, we, even if our country has got some economic problem, we still have help from our government to go abroad. And it's something that doesn't happen here. So, and this is also a problem, no? The way how to challenge with that, and how we can find a way to bring a company in Italy or in Europe. Yeah.
Thank you. Does someone else from maybe another region want to answer that question? The question was, how does American dance compare with dance from your country?
I've been in Australia only for 4 years, but I'm just going to pretend as if I know everything about Australian dance.
Go on.
I think actually the dance in America is very varied. There's everything from very classical dance, I find, until the most experimental, contemporary, postmodern, and whatever comes after that. So there's no generalization. I think in American dance, probably the influence of people like Graham and Cunningham and Trisha Brown are very clearly visible in a lot of works. And I do think that actually in Australia, dance has been very strongly influenced by that tradition. There's a number of choreographers in Australia that studied here over the 80s and the 90s. The most dominant one, it's a very strong artistic voice in Australia, Lucy Guerin, who has her own company and who's performed here in New York several times. And also Gideon Oberzanek, who founded and ran Chunky Move for a long time, and the influence of that the great American dance tradition is very visible in their work. I do sometimes, I guess, feel that they have taken that tradition, and maybe because they're inspired by it, but not so much part of it, they have somehow managed to develop that tradition in quite a different way than what from the works that I've seen here, where maybe because that tradition is so present, also the people following after them have stayed a bit closer to the original. I think that's a kind of, after seeing some work in the past few days, I feel that's maybe, if I needed to compare it, that's something that I was thinking about.
Thanks. Thank you. Gerry is Dutch, by the way.
Don't hold it against me.
And you should know, we float back and forth. You should know that they all arrived here on Wednesday evening, and we started on Thursday morning, and it's now been 2 days, and they've seen how many artisan studio showings and 2 performances, so they've seen at least 6 or 7 different artists so far, and they finish on Monday. And we will run them around New York. The marathon is nothing compared to what they're going through.
I gotta ask this one. Hold on. 5 years ago, I didn't need glasses when I did this. Anyone can answer this. Are your perceptions of American performing arts colored by our commercial, what's that word? Hegemony. SAT word for you. Our commercial hegemony, what's another word for hegemony?
Dominance.
Thank you. Our commercial dominance in certain areas such as film and popular music, and by our very strange politics. Want me to repeat that one? Okay.
I can try. but it's very simple no. For me, American dance is something like that is pioneer or one of pioneer countries for contemporary dance. That's the main reason. Otherwise, no, nothing to do with policy. And also for me, because I'm coming from Eastern Europe, and as we talk today, I understand this work on bringing contemporary dance to Lithuania as something to move my country from autocratic, non-democratic society towards democratic West, so from despotic East towards democratic West. So that's the only relation to politics, but nothing to do with commercials or US as the strongest political country in the world.
Okay, where this is coming from, to some extent, is back in 2004, 2005. American artists were often told that you don't want to deal with Americans. I mean, it was when we're in a particularly militaristic state, people seemed angry at us. Is that old news now? It would be nice to know it's old news.
It's a complicated issue because, there are different people in the world, of course, and different societies. And those that are influenced more by Russian policy, they might say like that in different countries. Because there is trend, that to keep peace and to be against war means US is military, aggressive country. So this line is if you are very much related to kind of current Russian politics. But if not, no, but I have such people in my context also.
So I'm getting so many. I was trying to avoid these questions for at least another 10 minutes, but every question's coming in has to deal with these next questions. How feasible is it to bring international work to your country in terms of funding and travel? Who wants to answer? Who hasn't? You've already answered. Okay, go ahead. You came furthest.
Australia does not have a system in place to support international arts coming into the country. There's a very well-developed system to help artists get abroad, scholarships, acquaint themselves with the rest of the world. There's a system to support companies to travel abroad. There's a whole strategy about how developing an international touring network helps develop sustainability for arts companies in Australia. So it's very much part of the thinking. There's no reciprocity in that sense. The only places that there's of course venues like ours and the bigger festivals that are bringing companies in, but there's no funding for that necessarily.
Hassan, you want to take the same question?
Actually, our country is not a good example because our government still keep alive this very old, almost empty, big system of cultural institutions from the communist time. And it's not so easy for the independent organization like us to have public money to develop contemporary art scene in our country. But we are lucky because we have really great support from our municipality and from different private foundations and companies. But for me it's really strange that in US you don't have any system supported international travels. And this is the main reason that we can see so many American companies in Europe, for example. Compared to Canada, it's a big difference. Compared to China already, Taiwan, South Korea, Australia, it's really easy to get fund for us as a festival. It's really easy to have support from different countries for these international travels. But we are working in our country because we have one really great private American foundation based in Bulgaria, in Sofia, and they support contemporary art and culture from US to come in our country. But this is something really important. You have to find it. It will be really hard to present the new face of American scene abroad. It's not easy because, as you know, your country is a little bit far from Europe.
Thank you. Frank, we've all been hearing, well, Australia, but a lot from Europe. And China is so big and unknown to some of us in terms of the arts and culture. How feasible is it in China to bring international companies in? And do you depend on the travel subsidy that Asen just spoke of?
So there are two kinds of international programs in China. One is the commercial program, the other one is the non-commercial program. If it is the non-commercial program, the fund will be provided by the international program itself. You may see the resource of funding yourself. But if that is the commercial program, it will be provided by our Chinese. Yeah. And when it comes to the contemporary dance, actually the audience who can appreciate contemporary dance is a little bit, yeah. So basically the contemporary dance belongs to the non-commercial programs, yeah.
Okay, thanks. Also, just so you remember, we have some Mandarin speakers in the audience, so go ahead and use the microphone when you're speaking too, because they can hear it then directly from you. You guys can each have your own mic at that point if you want. So there's a question here, and they ask it in terms of a show of hands would be okay. When you present an American dance company, do you receive funds from the U.S. Embassy or the consulate? So how many of you receive funds from the U.S. Embassy or consulate?
Have received.
Have received?
We tried.
Do you the other part of this is, do you depend on them?
Yes. What do you mean by do you depend?
I don't know, it wasn't my question, but I think it means that it impacts your decision. That if the U.S. Embassy or consulate says no, does that mean that inviting a company is not possible?
For example, we tried, but we're still waiting. It's 1 year. They didn't answer us back, so we don't know. But I want to do that. So of course we have to find a way to do that, no? And maybe to find money in another way, because what I think we have not to build a wall only because we don't have money. No, we should do something in a way. Maybe my idea, for example, was if it was not possible to bring a company, maybe it would be more easy to bring like just a choreographer to come over and to make a piece with a local dancer as first step, you know? That can be something that can be possible, easier, and we can do even without help from the American Embassy. This can be one way, because otherwise if we will be always talking in terms of money, in terms of how we get money, we can't do nothing, no? Because also our country doesn't have so much money to help us to go abroad, but we go. in any case, no? Because we want to show our art, and also I guess it's interesting for us as programmers to invite other artists from all around the world to show them work also. So I prefer to don't talk so much about money, but the way, because I mean, art is something that you can do also if you don't have so many money, no? From my point of view, of course.
Thank you. Jonas?
For us, what happened was that first the embassy said no, complete no, and then we decided to take the same, to take one artist to work with the local community. So this year we managed to take 2 artists from New York, and then the embassy said, we want to help you, because they saw it was working, and we are making that bridge between, we are making American dance visible, and that's new for my country, because what I said before. So now there's an interest to have a regular American dance presence, but it's still not enough, because if you want to take a big company, you need support from the other side also, and that's a thing we need to work on. We and you together.
Thank you. Adronis?
The countries are different, as we clarified today, and just to understand that my country, Lithuania, and I think part of Eastern Europe is like that. There is no such thing as financing public budget for importing art. No, nothing like that. Also to understand there are not such things as venues for dance. So the only, if we talk about kind of a realistic option, is international festivals. We have 2 of them. And then the festivals in my country, if you compare budgets of the major festivals, like in Lithuania and in France, for example, it may differ from 10 to 30 or to 100 times, not percents. Which means that if we talk about the same company from US going to either France or Lithuania, and if it's the same costs, then we have to choose. Either we do festival or we present one company. Means festival 10 with 10 or 20 productions, or we present one company. Then, of course, we try to present, to have a festival, not to present just a company. Which means that we are not able to finance everything from our own budget. Then, of course, we go to the embassies, and if embassies says no, depends, because sometimes companies reduce their requests, or they apply for some extra funds. But basically, we try to have at least some part of budget from appropriate embassy or from that country. That's the reality, at least in Lithuania.
One of the things he just mentioned that I want to make sure everyone kind of got it. In our country, we think of presenters most often aligned with colleges and universities, community centers, performing arts centers. And when he said it's about festivals, that's a big difference from our system. There's not, when he says not so many venues, it's like saying not so many presenters, because things are grouped more into festivals.
And then to say that we don't have such thing as colleges, universities presenting art, nothing. Community centers, no. So nothing what you say we would have. None institution like that, not structure.
Okay, we have a queue going here. Sorry, he was next, then you. And then we're going to move to another question. You're fine? Okay. Marcello?
I don't want to talk more. No, I like to talk about our festival. Traditionally, have a partner from the American government and other embassies in our country. But I like to talk about other possibility is because Laureate, in partnering with NPN, have one program. Normally, every year, 2 curators from South America come to United States to choose some works for invite for our festivals. Normally, minimum 3 venues, or in different countries. And this program, every year we bring 1 or 2 or some years 3 American group companies or artists from South America, and normally the embassy help us too.
Okay, thanks. We're going to change away from money for a few minutes, give ourselves a relief. Here's a question. It says, is the line between performance, installation, theater, and pure dance blurring? Have we lost the boundaries, the borders between art forms, genres?
My venue where the festival is established, is very untypical space. It's not a typical theatrical space. It's without the backstage, so it's quite black rectangular space with two mobile audience, so you can hide it under the floor and have just open space. So it's very, very performative space. So it's really dedicated to the interdisciplinary pieces. So myself, I'm educated also in a performance studies, so I'm thinking about the contemporary dance in a way of thinking about the performance. In Polish, we don't have a word performance like in English. It means something more than theater, a very interdisciplinary piece. And in this way, I'm thinking about the contemporary dance because it's obvious that there's borders between the different disciplines in art are arising right now. So there's no more, I think, really pure contemporary dance, like jazz dance. Of course, we have still these kinds of examples, but this is coming to be a history. So artists are working in collectives, and this is very interesting, how they are preparing this and how they are using the space, and the space itself is changing as well. And this kind of space as we have, I think, it's dedicated exactly for the interdisciplinary pieces. So it's unique, I think. But you have these kinds of spaces as well here in New York, many of them. So, and the United States and New York itself, it's a homeland of performance turned in a history. So when I came here, I thought exactly about this direction, that I would like to see how it is combined, the performance itself and the dance stage here, how it's developing here. And I'm still searching for it.
Hassan?
I think that it's not a question about the venues, it's a question about the future of performing arts. I want to give you one example from the last year. I saw one performance from Denmark at the program of one contemporary dance festival, and then at the program of one theater festival, and then at the program of one contemporary circus festival. And from my point of view, this is the future of performing arts scene. We don't need all of these borders between all of these different disciplines, and actually also maybe my way of thinking is also because I really like these cross-disciplinary works, and that's my feeling about the future.
Did anyone else want to take that question?
I can say shortly that I don't believe so much in generalizations like that. I think still there are genres, like pure genres. There is dance, there is theater, there are installations. But of course there is more and more mixture among genres, and that's maybe the one more genre. I'm quite often accused that I don't bring dance to our dance festival. Even I try usually to bring at least one dance performance, so to say. This is also personal. It depends on personal point of view.
So we have had some conversations even in the last 24 hours about the dominance of movement-based work in the US compared to many of their experiences. Could one of you or a couple of you just speak to that and share the conversations we've had? You know, why do you think maybe in other countries dance has moved away from movement-based work? No one's going to stone you. Just try it. Because this is a big separation. I mean, this is something that becomes, to Andrea and I, more and more obvious that what they said was dancey dance or pure dance, whoever the question was, or movement-based dance, is more seen in the US than we see elsewhere, correct? Or not?
But maybe that's the issue that we see, what we can see in Europe, I mean, at least in Europe, and maybe that's what we see only. Maybe there is much more variety here in the US, we don't know. But at least, and also just understand that in some countries, if we talk about Europe, like Belgium or Germany, there are other genres like conceptual dance, a lot of that, and theatrical dance and dance theater. So yes, it seems like that, but I don't know if this is right, because maybe we just don't see a big portion of American dance. I don't know.
That's fair.
Yeah, I guess it's coming maybe for different traditions, of course, no? Because your tradition in modern dance is really strong, and from what I saw it in these 2 days, and also from what I was watching all around Europe from the little company that was coming from USA, that the idea that I had, I don't know, but as he told before, maybe is more, the spectrum is more bigger than we had saw it, no? That is like that you are all of you, I mean, what I saw it, son of that tradition of modern dance. And in Europe, for example, the audience, when they saw that, they think, oh, this is old-fashioned, no? Because we see too much dance. But when I say too much dance, I say too much legs, point, that kind of dance, no? We are going to, and the audience now in Europe, I mean, I talk for Italy. They want to see movement, but they want to see the technique. The technique should be used in a way that I can see the person. I can see something else, no, which is not only the movement. That doesn't mean that they like, for example, performance when for 1 hour when people just stay like that without moving, not that, but how the way they use the body, no, which is different, no. I don't say if it's better or not. I just say that it's different, and it's coming also from our tradition maybe, no, because we have a really strong tradition in theater, so the people are really used to go in the theater, even if they're going to watch a dance performance, they want to see the humanity of the people on the stage, no? And even they don't, I mean, they of course they know if they are going to watch a performance that dancer or that company has got a strong background in dance technique, but they don't want to watch, they want to see that. They want to see something different, which is coming from the way how they are on the stage, no? And because for example for us, when they watch, when we see a piece with a lot of turns or legs or whatever, we always say, oh, this is TV dance, no? Which is bad. And so this really big, this really big wall. The people who does that work, they will not be invited in the theater to make the show, to present the show, because they know, the theater's directors know that the audience doesn't like that. Yeah, but I mean, it's not what I think, but I'm just saying what is the mood of the audience, no, and also what the theater does and what kind of programmation they do.
Okay, Antonella, I'm going to jump in and just go ahead.
I think it's very dangerous for us try to say which is the correct way to make art. I think our function is our point, on my point of view. If we are in America for see art, we need to see and try to find which is the specific place for that piece, for that artist, for that performance, and especially my focus maybe is on quality or identity or which that piece propose, and if possible put to my audience, and I need know if I can put this performance for 1,000 or for 3 people. This is our work. I think is we don't need to transform the American way to make art in European way to make art. I think this is for this we are here for try understand and for promote this exchange, because of course we have a really traditional creators and companies, and during a long time the rest of the world make this from American creators, and sometimes it's like this move a little bit, but nothing is absolute in art.
Katja, did you want to say something? Okay. Oh, okay. Sure. We got a couple more themes here, though.
To 3 things. I dedicated 2 years ago edition of my festival to the beautiness in a dance, because I thought there's a lack of this kind of subject in European dance, that it's going to be more and more not attractive for the audience, and it's not like that the audience don't need it. I think that there's a really big part of the audience, for example, also in my city, in Krakow, in Poland, that they really enjoy and they would like to see a dance in a dance, and this is nothing a shame. And I think that of course it could be something typical for the contemporary American dance, but for sure it's not like that. I have seen just today's some examples, and of course I would say that it's very dancey dance. But it's of course nothing wrong. But what's the problem? I would say it's even when I'm programming these kinds of performances where are full of very good technique and great performance dancers. Then I'm searching for something more like that. It has to be something or innovative in the movement, or really individual language of the body, or vocabulary. It's not enough to show a really good done performance dance, because this, of course, we can see we have plenty of them in Europe. But it has to be something more. What surprised me, what makes the artist individual. So this is the idea that of course this is nothing wrong, but it has to be something more, something specific.
Okay, thanks. I'm going to try to combine 3 questions here. Yeah. So there's one general question about audiences. You know, for you to talk about the audiences in your country towards dance, so keep that in mind. Then there's a question here about how receptive are you to site-specific work. Could be outdoor spaces or in non-traditional spaces like museums. That particular question also referred to in distressed areas such as central Italy and New Zealand that have gone through some natural disasters, in Japan and so forth. Then, are you still with me? Okay. Then this question, which I think is really interesting also, is what demand is there in your countries among young people to see and learn about dance. In particular, do young dancers in your country study the American classics, like Graham, Nicolai? Do they even know who they are or what they are, or do they care? So good luck. Who wants to tackle it first? And then let me just give you a heads up. Then I'm going to go to a question and ask you each to respond. So this is going to be the beginning of the end.
Yeah, I said I'm in charge of dance education in Uruguay, and they have to go through Graham technique for 4 years, Limon technique 4 years as well. So yeah, they know who they are, absolutely. And they have this love-hate relationship with them. So yeah, and for us it's very important that this young generation, they know who they are, and the influence they have, even in what they think the European choreographers have influence from them, but they are not separate, and they have to make the connections themselves. And for related to the audience question, we tend to work a lot on building new audience, and that means we have a lot of projects working with a community outreach and getting to those who have no easy access to culture. So we have a lot of projects, and that's how we took the New York artist this year, and because there was an educational part of the project, and that's how we got the money to do it. And I don't know who I was telling, one person from my foundation today, that he worked 1 week, and then we stayed in the project after he left, and there is one kid from that project that is now part of the conservatory. He's studying ballet now, and this comes from that project. So, and the other kids, they are going to the shows, and we have this community project when we invite them to come to see the show, and then we talk to them, and then somehow we are breaking this barrier. I don't know if it's everywhere. I know in Uruguay it's a long tradition. Ballet and dance is for an elite, and it's not accessible. So we are breaking that and inviting them. And one thing I should mention for that project is that all performances that we program are for free for the audience. It's all paid by the government. So that means anyone can come and see the show, and also the education. If you want to become a dancer, you have the career, and it's paid by the government. You don't pay anything. It's all for free.
Someone else, go ahead, dance.
We need more people living there.
And I just, again, will mention totally other context. If we talk about Lithuania was like in blackout.
Make a site-specific project, especially in the squares, not in museum, or maybe like in the underground stations. The citizens really like that, and they really, and they sometimes they become part of the performance too. So it's really it's happened often that we do stuff like that. Yeah. And of course, we know Limon, Matagram, and all that kind of technique. I did Matagram technique. Yeah.
Okay, so this is going to be for, I'm going to ask each of you to answer this. Thank you, Andrea. I'm losing the English. Obviously, you want to meet companies from all over the world, and companies want to meet you. But it's always difficult to understand how best to reach out to you, how to get your attention, how to get a response from you sometimes. So the question is really, how is it best to approach you? What do you want from artists? Some of it's specific. You answer letters, you answer email, Twitter. Are you on Twitter? Are you on Instagram? I mean, what is it that you need, or where do you find the artists that interest you? You want to go first?
Thanks for this question. Because this is a really important one. I think that you need to create in US your own national contemporary dance platform. It will be the easiest way for the international programmers to choose content from US. For example, this year I went to Prague for the last edition of the Czech dance platform, and I realized that it was a really big success for the Czech dance scene, because they invited more than 120 programmers from all the world. It's really helpful if some country have national contemporary dance platform, because it's not so easy for us to come so often in Europe to see some premiere or some works. Thanks to American Dance Abroad, we are here today, but we can come every month or every year. And also we have to come here in Europe, but also in San Francisco, LA, and Seattle, and maybe some other cities, if we want to know what happens in your country. It's not so easy for us.
You know, I just remembered something that I meant to do earlier, and that is I want to just introduce Bonnie and Shiloh. And there's a reason, because it ties into this. Can you guys stand up? This is Shiloh Hodges and Bonnie Gloris, who are part of our team at American Dance Abroad. And why I'm suddenly remembering it is only that between Bonnie and Shiloh, they do a great job of informing these guys when you guys are performing out of the country. So this is a little commercial to say when you're going out of the country, let them know, because they promote it. And then these guys hear about it, and sometimes they can come see your work without coming all the way to the US.
And the best way to do that is to go up on the American Dance Abroad website, where you can link into a jot form and just fill in the information about where you're touring. And it will go into a newsletter that we publish online and send out to our international colleagues monthly, and we list for the next 3 months where everybody's touring overseas. And the more we populate that, the more information we gather, the more impressive it looks, one, about American dance touring overseas, and the stronger our visibility is, and the more our international colleagues will depend on us to share the information. So it's kind of not just an advertisement, it's really a request that you take a look at our information and do something with it.
Okay, who's going to go next?
I think the platforms, the national platforms, which are quite usually in each 2 years in most of the countries in Europe, okay, in some of the countries in Europe, are really useful, the platform, to show the pieces, but also it's all, some of the times it's quite difficult to get the scene, especially in these huge countries like in USA. I think it's like a huge thing, but it's a start. Yeah, we do reply on emails, but the rule, what we are talking at ITM, for instance, it's just don't be too pushy and don't try to sell. That's mine.
So what do you want them to try to do?
Actually, try to persuade with the good works, with the good ideas, how to collaborate and find a solution.
Okay, who's next? Go ahead.
I just want to add something. We reply to every email we have. We have come up with some people who send the same email to 100 contacts, and you realize that. And then we were talking about this morning, and then this afternoon, like, also that it's very important to know why the artists want to go to our countries, and what's, because it's not only going there and showing your work. There's something you need that we have, and there's something we need that you have, and that's when the real meeting happens. So we are interested. Of course, I'm interested in the work, but I'm also interested in the person and what that person can leave behind when you leave, and what you're going to take from us. And it's not, I'm not talking about money or how many shows you're going to do. I'm going beyond that, and that's very important. That's when real communication happens.
I will say honestly that I'm person which badly responds to emails. But you know, there are reasons for that, because I do other things also besides of dance festival, and in some days I get like few or dozen of emails proposing something. I don't have really time to go through, to analyze, to see videos, to think about that, to respond or like, you know, politely. I know it's bad, but then I should do much less of work than I do. That's also an option. But what I can say is that actually, you know, the people are different. How I can honestly say, how do I choose? I don't know. In different ways. But yes, don't try to sell, and Americans do that very well. And I can say that I think I don't open even any email which sells, which proposes, you know, we are good, which markets very well. I even don't open that. The more emails that are sent to 100 receivers, no way. Also, I don't know about other programmers, but personally, I don't read any marketing materials before I have seen the show. I don't see any trailers. I try to see either on the stage, but that's not so easy with the US, right? Or documentary, normal like video with one camera from somewhere. No edited, no nothing else. Just one camera. That's it. That's the best. And it's about personal encounter. Yes, I mean, I don't know how to reach that. The same as for me, you know, how to reach the companies. That's to find a way. But what I can suggest is that, you know, yeah, try to research the receivers of your emails. Where are they? What do they do? That's possible now with emails, you know, with internet. What is the context of that country? Don't try to propose something which, if you don't know the context, maybe don't try even to propose. I will not mention now the name of the quite famous American company which was knocking the door for years, which was calling the embassy, the Lithuanian embassy was calling me, almost forcing to program them. But I mean, I never listen to any embassy. Of course, I try to go if our both interests are the same. Then I do that. But I never, you know, listen if embassy forces like to do something. Any embassy, not only US. So that doesn't work with me. That works with. I know that that company was presented in some other countries. But then the local presenters got ashamed because that was bad quality for that country. And that company, as well as I hear, works quite well in some other countries. So one thing is good for like Western Europe, another thing is good for Eastern Europe, the third thing is good maybe for China, the fourth for India, the fifth for South Africa. Try to choose try to know what is phase of development of dance performing arts in that country. Try to relate your style with the context there. Sometimes it's possible.
Thank you. Frank?
首先找到我们的联系方式会非常方便，可以直接联系 ADA。然后呢也可以通过微信，因为我们可能通过邮件也非常方便，通过微信也非常方便。
So it's very convenient for you to contact us. You can ask the information from ADR directly. And second, what Frank mentioned is that we frequently use WeChat and email.
那其实我们是需要找到你们。那我们的工作是要发现好的艺术作品，这是我们的一个非常重要的工作。并不是说你们来找我们，那我们最主要是要把这个好的作品找到。
From our perspective, the most important thing is we need to find the best work, not just you came like he said, you came to our door, knock our door, and we accepted. Not that.
我的一个建议就是希望大家在某一方面，或者说技术方面，或者创意方面，或者任何的一个方面，你们有独到的地方，那么我们每一个艺术节，包括我们有不同的侧重面，那么我们就会发现你们发现好的适合于我们各个艺术节的一个作品。
So Frank suggests that you need to find the unique part of your work. For example, the tech, the innovation part. So, and we can arrange some different kind of exhibition from different perspective of the quality. So you find your unique part and came to us, we will accept that.
现代舞其实我们认为是一个未来的一个方向。那么其实我们的艺术节主要是想看到多元的和一个多种的一个方向，所以我们希望看到更多更好的一个作品。
Contemporary dance to China is a future, so what we need is the diversity and dynamics.
Sorry, 不是在中国是就是未来，不是中国。
Okay, my mistake. Contemporary dance is the future. What we need is the diversity and dynamics.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we're going to start to run out of time here, and I really do want everyone to answer this question. So, who hasn't gone? And you have to make it short, concise.
I've been on the other side for a long time. I used to run a dance company, so I know how excruciatingly difficult it can be. That question, like, how do I connect to these people sitting there? And it is a very tricky thing. I've tried to be always cautious in how I deal with people, and I try to respond to emails. I do find it's not often the best way. My experience is that a lot of it, you see work and you get interested, you meet people and you build a connection. So attending these kind of global markets, the IETM in Europe, APAM in New York, that really helps, because you will run into people, and the first time you might be awkwardly introducing, but the second time you meet, you greet as if you know each other, and the third time you're suddenly friends. And I think building relationships is really a key factor of having trust. Often, if you bring a company from a long end from around the world, you need to trust the other party. And I think the third thing to always keep in mind is that there might be a lot of factors involved that have nothing to do with your work. So, for example, it's very easy for me to, and I very much enjoy it, to speak to artists and to learn about what motivates them and why they're creating the work that they're creating. But that doesn't necessarily mean it might be the right match for my venue, or it might not be the right match for my venue at that particular time, or there's so many factors, and having been in that position so often, I do understand that you think, oh, I've done everything and it's great work, and didn't we have a great conversation? Why is he not just buying it? But that has to do that everyone is trying to make a balanced decision for his or her own venue and festival, and the context they're trying to create.
Hasn't answered this specific question. Concisely. Briefly.
Yes. Yes. So we do answer all emails. That's the first thing I should say. Yes, just to relate what he said before, and also what now he said. It's important for us to have a good feeling from the artist. We don't like when the people are too much pushing for coming to our place, for example. Of course, I should watch the video if I cannot go to watch the performance. But I cannot say that my choice is coming from the video, because I can understand that some performances, when I watch live, I have another feeling. No, of course. So it's just the idea. I can have only the idea about what is the performance. So then I have to talk with the artist, and if I really like the work, and if I really think that artist can come in my theater, and if I don't have maybe the money for bring that show, I would like to find a way to bring him in another way. So it's because the first thing for me is what is important is the humanity, the relationship between person. Because we are not selling potatoes, we are just.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
This is exactly the question about the curating style. What does it mean to be a curator? And I think that I have a little bit different point of view, because for me, the artists can be attractive by themselves. they can sell themselves, then can send me 1,000 videos and other things. I have my own idea, and I know very well what I am looking for. And of course, there's a lot of conditions which has to be done, and they have to be in the right place, in the right time. Sometimes it's connected with the international platforms, like it was said. But sometimes I'm looking for particular artists, sometimes I'm talking with my colleagues, but I'm searching them, not they me. I would say that this is this kind of direction. And of course they are working on their own fields, different international teams and groups. And, but my point of view is really focused, and I know what I am looking for. So, and the only condition for me, also, of course, we have a lot of problems in Poland with the transport, other things, but this is the second step. The first step is the, like I said, the outstanding piece, the language of the dance, the piece itself, and of course I'm trying to see the piece on the stage, but if this is not possible, I'm also I can see also it as a registration. And really it's like that after 20, 30, of course you have to see whole piece, but after several minutes you are able, as a person who is professional, to say if the language of the body, vocabulary of the body is something innovative, or this is just a repetition, or this is just something from the history. But of course then you have to see a whole piece as a concept. But this is these are the stages, I would say.
I lost count. Did I get to everybody on this question? Mm-hmm. Okay, you're the last one. I done? Okay. We have to end. I want to say to you that if there are questions that you would have given to them, ask them. You should always feel free to contact Andrea or Bonnie or Shiloh or myself, because we've heard them and their colleagues answer these questions over and over again over the years. So we really do have some information that we're glad to share with you if it comes up. Who asked the disability question? We don't, it's too big of a topic for us to just throw on at the last minute. So if anyone here does any kind of specific work with disability issues in your country, please give him 5 minutes before we leave, because we just didn't get to his question. Go ask him. I'm sorry.
What kind of disability? To work with disabled people, or?
You can do that. We can talk
just let us. Andrea?
I think we've done it.
Okay.
I hope we hope this has been an interesting, informative session. We're grateful to all of you, the second day of your being here, to step up and have this conversation with folks here. And we're very glad that you came on a Friday night. We actually avoided the one thing that we thought we were going to jump right into. We didn't get really into it at all, so I'll leave it alone.
Okay.
Where we are in the world right now and in our country.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was good.
Thank you for that.
We managed a whole hour without that.
Yes.
So,
and thank you to Dance NYC. Thank you, Dance NYC. So we are out of here in 6 minutes. And
yeah, we good.